So, yep. Uh huh.
Lesson number 3. They won't feel your fit out there until you feel it in here.
So yeah, we're gonna do is
Hey, on you, baby. Looking like a snack. Why? I need it. Cheese it.
just gonna kill some time, maybe do some work. I mean, if I do that one thing, it doesn't count. I don't read that. I don't know what that means. Oh, that's how they did it. Okay, I was just curious how they did it. I wish. Oh, that's what I was looking for. I haven't seen that one in a while. This one makes more sense. I like this one more. Yeah, because it's in English. Oh well, actually, it's not. It's English. That's yeah, Spanish, something like that. So, guys, yeah, we're on for a long day stream. I got something to do. I got a call, make a phone call in an hour, but besides that, not much else is happening. I'm just relaxing right now. I wish I could make a TV station in my house. Wish I did money to build a TV station. Sage Television. What's wrong, my baby boy? Shoot. I gotta do something real quick.
Доброй ночи, товарищи. Добрый вечер.
I actually have done it once, at least once on camera, I think. Not on camera, but off camera, yeah, I had done it before. I actually have done it before one time on camera. As I was recording one time, I actually have done it. But still. Well, doesn't really matter. We're losing subscribers, but I'm not changing that. I like where we're at right now. The number we had.
Здравствуйте, товарищи. Добрый вечер. Добрый вечер.
Yeah.
Добрый вечер. В эфире программа «Время».
That'd be the first thing I would want to do. Even circus. That's what I want to do. But I want to do it with Mare, not in circus.
Добрый вечер. В информационной студии канала ОРТ Игорь Гумызин. Программа «Время» об основных событиях дня.
В эфире «Время» в студии Екатерина Андреевна. Сегодня в программе.
Okay. Listen, guys, we're just doing an all-day stream. I was just looking up something for the channel. Might do something in a little bit.
Got to be metallic, new colors, plastic.
I can look up a couple more things here. And that's about all I really want to do real quick. I want to choose on a click here. I gotta do one more thing later, which I'll do later on. $42. Okay.
Dragon Ball Legends.
You've got control of your health. Now get control of your allergies with Zyrtec 5 mg.
I might do that.
Low dose.
Throughout the history of Top Gear,
I might do that. I'm gonna have to. Yeah.
Which resulted in frequent controversies. However, no incident in the show's history was as politically and culturally charged as the Patagonia special in 2014. What began as a seemingly routine special turned into a diplomatic crisis, leading to violent protests, emergency evacuations, and heated debate. At the heart of this firestorm was a seemingly innocuous number plate, H982FKL. For many Argentinians, this wasn't just a random set of characters, but a deeply offensive reference to the Falklands War of 1982, a conflict which remains an open wound in the country's history. But given the show's own history and track record for what some consider offensive jokes and skits, was it an unfortunate coincidence or a deliberate poke at a country's history? To understand the intensity of the backlash, it's crucial to understand Argentina's historical and emotional ties to the Falklands Islands, or Islas Malvinas as they call in Spanish. The islands are located in the South Atlantic and have been a source of dispute between the UK and Argentina for nearly 2 centuries. In 1982, Argentina's then military dictatorship launched an invasion on the Falklands, seeking to reclaim the territory from British control. This led to a 10-week conflict in which British forces successfully repelled Argentine military, reclaiming the islands at the cost of hundreds of lives. 255 British and 649 Argentine to be exact. For Argentina, the loss was not just a military defeat, but a national tragedy, compounded by the fact that many of the fallen were young conscripts. To this day, the sovereignty of the Falklands remains a highly sensitive and politically charged issue in Argentina. Given this context, anything that appears to reference the war, especially in a manner that is perceived as mocking or celebratory, is always going to be a bad idea. In 2014, Top Gear planned to film the Christmas special featuring a road trip through Argentina and Chile, more specifically Patagonia, which is basically the tail end of the countries. As usual, the trio chose a car within the requirements of having a V8 engine to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the small block V8. Hammond chose a Ford Mustang Mark 1 and May opted for a Lotus Esprit. Meanwhile, Jeremy opted for a Porsche 928 GT, a car that is incredibly meaningful to him. This is mainly because when he first tested the car back in 1994, it transported him to see his dying father in hospital.
See, back in 1994, I was living in London. I got a call one evening from my mum to say that my dad was desperately ill in a hospital in Sheffield and I needed to get there as quickly as possible. And I'd just taken the chicken out of the oven. I thought, well, I'll take that from my mum because she won't have eaten. Ran outside and I had a 928 on test that week. And when I arrived in Sheffield, the chicken was still warm and my dad was still alive. In fact, he died half an hour later. And the truth is, if I hadn't have been driving a car which could sit quite happily at 170 miles an hour, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to say goodbye to my dad. So as far as I'm concerned, the 928 is all right.
On the 17th of September 2014, the team set off their journey from Bariloche, intending to film scenic drives through Patagonia and then ultimately play a game of car football in Ushuaia with the local Argentinians. However, as the filming progressed, Argentine viewers and media outlets began noticing something peculiar: Clarkson's number plate, which to them seemed like an obvious reference to the Falklands War, and led to the number plate spreading rapidly across Argentina. Once they crossed into Chile, they made their way to Punta Arenas, where in usual Top Gear fashion, they had to modify their cars so they could carry the materials and resources to build a car football stadium in the city of Ushuaia, a place with strong historical ties to the Falklands War. On the 28th of September, they set off to Ushuaia. However, during this time, the backlash of the number plate was intensifying as the Argentine media picked up on the story, accusing the BBC and Top Gear of deliberately provoking the country. This story, of course, then went viral across the internet, causing protests to form in cities that Top Gear planned to drive through its route. Once actually in Ushuaia, the situation became critical when veterans and local officials confronted the team, demanding an explanation and apology. The production crew then tried to defuse the situation, insisting that the number plate was purely coincidental and had not been chosen with any political intent. What was meant to be a symbolic handshake of peace through car football quickly became a DEFCON 1 scenario. This led to the number plate on the Porsche being replaced, and the trio being forbidden to be seen, hiding out in their hotel room in Ushuaia, while the production team assessed their next move.
We haven't had any animosity whatsoever in the whole trip. Everybody's been perfectly decent, very charming.
All he wants to do is come here and play football. And what's happened is the producers said it would take 24 hours to organise the departure of such a large crew. But even though the police were present, the veterans said a mob was on its way.
Given an ultimatum by the locals to leave or be skewered, Jeremy, James and Richard, along with a few younger female crew members, got a flight to Buenos Aires, where they would then catch a flight back to the UK.
The trouble is, we thought that we were the magnet for all that because we're the presenters, and it was whatever this perceived slight was, it must have come from us. So we ran away to the airport.
How did you do that? You all get in one car and flee?
Yeah, to be honest. Obviously, the crew have a huge amount of kit. A lot of it is mounted in the filming cars, the Land Rovers. We hire those locally, but it's a day's work.
I'm sure it is, yeah. It must be a big support crew you've got.
On the 2nd of October, after planning an escape route out of Argentina, the production crew was forced to leave Ushuaia. With 4 tons of equipment loaded into the cars, the 31-strong film crew headed out of the town with a police escort, which would take them 184 miles to the border town of San Sebastian, where they cross over into Chile. Along this trek, the Top Gear convoy would then be followed by protesters and then attacked by angry mobs with rocks as they made their way through towns.
Then, just outside the town of Tolhuin, the police told the convoy to pull over and prepare for an attack.
With the cars and crews taking damage, they abandoned the Porsche, Ford and Lotus, along with another alleged spare number plate inside, which read BE11END. With no phone signal and the crew fearing for their lives, they ditched the main road and went towards the river border they used earlier in the special, eventually crossing back into Chile. On the 4th of October 2014, Jeremy Clarkson tweeted a series of tweets. All TG crew now safely out of Argentina. I just got back to UK, horrified to see so many newspapers have the story completely wrong. The number plate was a coincidence. When it was pointed out to us, we changed it, as in pics this morning's Mail show. On Christmas Day, when the special aired, Jeremy Clarkson tweeted, "Happy Christmas to everyone, except the Tierra del Fuego people of Argentina. You lot can sod off." After the show aired, the debate continued whether the number plate was on purpose or not. It was mainly about the question of the chances of having that specific number plate on that car. During 2 separate interviews, James and Richard cleared it up from their perspective.
So we bought the cars, bought them in the UK, and all this COD arithmetic about the chances of having that.
What is it you found out, Richard?
The chances of coincidentally buying a car with that registration to take to Argentina, 13 million to 1.
You see, I would contend that that is nonsense because that is true of any number plate you choose because they are all unique. That is the point of the number plate.
But this one was particularly unique, though.
It's actually meaningless. Now you have to remember all the cars that we chose are extremely rare. Jeremy wanted a 928 GT. It's a car he's very keen on, has been for a long time. He wanted a manual, which is a very rare car in Britain in right-hand drive. Now we found two for sale. One of them was considerably better than the other one, which is the one we bought. So in actual fact, because they all wear the registration numbers they've had from new, and there's nothing you can really do about that, the chances of buying that car are actually 1 in 2.
But surely because of the meticulous planning that goes into it, someone would have gone, oh crikey, this is a bit odd. That says that, and we're going to be driving through. I know you're going to have to Patagonia, but
I mean, we weren't making a program about Argentina specifically. We were making a program about Patagonia, which is Argentina and Chile. We were definitely not going to talk about the Falklands War. The only thing we did advise that we would end up in Ushuaia, where there is a certain amount of resentment toward the British, because that's where the Belgrado set from. So, but we weren't going to mention that. I mean, we do muck about, but we're not going there to mock people about their war casualties or anything like that. Now, the issue with the number plate, we didn't spot. I didn't spot it, and I do crosswords, word games, number games.
because as men, you often look at number plates and you try and make letters from them, don't you? And surely someone on that crew must have gone, crikey, we've got to be really careful, we've got to get rid of this number plate. It says,
but it doesn't say anything.
I don't think it's the number plate that's the issue, really. It's what happened following it. We were making a film about how great it was because it was gorgeous. And then we got a tweet about a week into a sort of a week shoot that pointed out that the number plate on one of the cars, you could, I mean, you can. I mean, I can see it. Yeah. So we all ran cold. Oh, no, that's bad. Because we were going right down to Ushuaia, like the very sad. Where there's still feeling about it. Yeah, it was a war. People died on both sides. So we thought, cool, well, if that's going to cause offence, take it off. Yeah. But that wasn't enough. And then they threw rocks at us and we ran away.
Well, hey, the producer of Top Gear and the Grand Tour, Andy Willman, recently spoke on Formula Speak.
Hello.
Wilman's podcast, where he re-clarified they didn't do it on purpose.
Corn. Okay. School's done for the year. Mary, I'm just killing time. I'm just killing time, guys. I'm just doing all this stream for fun because I got nothing to do today. I got one thing to do today, and that's it. So I'm just gonna be out here to kill some time. We'll be doing it for a while.
Come on, to this day until the day I die. Come on my children.
No one really seems to know what exactly happens to the abandoned cars. And although the BBC did attempt to recover all three of the cars, they were unsuccessful. It's rumoured that after they were seized by local police, they were put in storage and then destroyed in 2017. But this wasn't even the first time in Top Gear history that they had been chased out of borders. In episode 3 of the 9th season, the presenters and the entire crew were chased by hillbillies out of Alabama's state borders. After writing statements on their car, they knew it would cause aggro in the Deep South. Stuff like NASCAR sucks and man love rules. But the difference is, with the Patagonia controversy, coupled with other issues, contributed to tensions between Clarkson and the BBC, culminating in his dismissal from Top Gear the following year in 2015. If you want to find out exactly how this happened, you can watch this video that I made. The fact that this TV show was big enough to cause political unrest in the country is pretty crazy in itself, which kind of reiterates the fact how much the BBC has declined. But does Clarkson and Top Gear have a track record of loving history and being slightly offensive? Yeah.
I wish you can do that one thing, but I don't know what to do it with right now. I wish I could do that thing I really want to do, but yeah. Or I said T, we should do like that.
Dobro večer, poštovani gledalci. Možda i sami često postavljate pitanje šta je humanizam, ima li među ljudima dovoljno solidarnosti?
Just relaxing and having fun.
Dobri večer.
Relacje napływające z różnych stron kraju świadczą o coraz bardziej normalnym rytmie pracy załóg zdecydowanej większości zakładów.
Yeah, Sammy should kill time for a while. What's wrong, Diamond?
Stimați telespectatori, bună seara!
I'm sad. I think we should. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just having fun right now. It's relaxing, got nothing to do all day, so I thought I'd do an all day stream. What you doing?
What's inside matters. RX-Bar. No BS.
A watch? It was different.
When you watch Titanic, you get pulled into the romance, the huge set pieces, and the tragedy that helped turn it into one of the biggest films of the 1990s. But hidden under all that shine are mistakes most viewers miss. Some scenes twist real history. Some props don't belong anywhere near 1912. A few shots even reveal crew members hiding in reflections. Once you spot these errors, the movie never feels the same. Now let's get into some of the wildest mistakes you probably never noticed. Villainizing William Murdoch. In the 1997 film Titanic, one of the craziest mistakes that you won't believe was the portrayal of William McMaster Murdoch, the first officer of the real-life ship RMS Titanic. The character was controversial because the film presents him as bribed, panicked, and ultimately suicidal. But when you look at historical evidence, you can see that he acted heroically until the end. In the movie, you see Murdoch accepting a bribe from a first-class passenger, shooting a man during a chaotic boarding scene, and turning the gun on himself. But in reality, Murdoch stayed at his post, helped launch the lifeboat, and even threw deck chairs into the sea to assist those who were in the water. He didn't die by suicide, but was actually swept into the sea while still carrying out his duties. The backlash was immediate. Murdoch's nephew and the community of his hometown in Scotland publicly protested against the movie, saying that it defamed a man widely regarded as one of the ship's heroes. In response, 20th Century Fox, the studio behind the film, issued an apology and made a donation to a local school in Murdoch's hometown, saying that the depiction was misleading. The movie seems to be offering historical authenticity, but it actually takes dramatical liberties with characters based on real people that were on that ship. Titanic was meant to display the differences between classes, and some villains were required to depict these. Murdoch wasn't the only real-life person who was depicted wrongly in Titanic, as another villain wasn't actually bad in real life. Villainizing Bruce Ismay.
Yeah, that's
In
totally wrong.
Titanic, J. Bruce Ismay is depicted as a greedy, pressure-driven businessman who urges Edward J. Smith to push his ship faster so as to make headlines and arrive in New York early. This has caused...
That's wrong.
Depicted as a greedy, pressure-driven businessman who urges Edward J. Smith to push his ship faster so as to make headlines and arrive in New York early. This has caused many to say that his portrayal in the movie was one-dimensional and unfair. Historically, Ismay was the chairman of White Star Line and a passenger aboard the RMS Titanic on its maiden voyage. He was scandalized by the press after the disaster as the coward of the Titanic. But the truth is that there's no evidence from any of the investigations that shows that he ordered the ship to sail at unsafe speeds or forced Captain Smith to disregard ice warnings. It seems like he was simply villainized because of his position as a businessman. In the movie, one key scene shows Ismay complaining that the last 4 boilers have not yet been lit and suggesting the ship needs to go faster to beat its sister ship. But in reality, Ismay wrote in 1911 that he preferred the Titanic not to arrive early under uncertain conditions, arguing that passengers would rather have uncertainty than a rushed arrival. As for his survival, the film presents Ismay climbing into a lifeboat in a way that implies cowardice. But that's not really what happened. Historically, research shows that he boarded one of the last boats to leave, the collapsible C on the starboard side, and that the seats at that time were unfilled. He also helped with the loading of the lifeboats, and this is one thing that you won't even see in the movie. Surprisingly, Titanic had no shortage of villains, and the movie misinterpreted a lot of real-life figures. But you might not realize this when watching it now. Another character was depicted in a completely different way from what historical accounts reveal. Villainizing Thomas Andrews. Thomas Andrews is another character in the Titanic that is portrayed in a way that some historians say completely misrepresented his actual behavior during the disaster. In the movie, he's seen stuck in the same place, standing in the first-class smoking room, gazing at a clock, and accepting his face. But this was nothing like what happened in real life. It downplays the most active and heroic role that he played during the sinking of the RMS Titanic. In reality, Andrews was aboard the maiden voyage, as he had created the ship. He worked throughout the disaster to assist in evacuation efforts, like distributing life belts, encouraging passengers into boats, and throwing deck chairs into the water for those in the sea to cling to. In contrast, the film depicts him as being contemplative and resigned. He warns of the inevitable fate, and then is shown looking in the distance. He didn't actively intervene or direct evacuation tasks, as some survivors remember. The scene where he was seen quietly staring into space was apparently seen by one of the stewards on the ship during the crash. But this wasn't the end of it. Survivors also placed him after that time still on deck or nearer the ship's bridge helping out, instead of standing apart. Many argue that the movie diminished his legacy and efforts in the final hours. The Titanic mistakes aren't limited to misrepresenting the characters in the movie, but also the way the ship actually operated in reality. Ship operations and procedures. There are a lot of inaccuracies that viewers who watch Titanic might not have noticed, especially about how the real RMS Titanic was built and operated. One of the most important scenes of the movie was when the protagonist gained access to the automobile through the boiler rooms. In reality, the cargo hold and the automobile storage were separated from the boiler rooms, and unauthorized access between them would have been restricted. Basically, you won't have been able to get into any of these rooms. There wasn't a connecting door between boiler room number 6 and the adjacent cargo hold. The manifest of the ship also shows that many of the cars were still crate-mounted and not parked as open vehicles for passengers to enter. The film depicts Jack and Rose running through the boiler rooms in light clothing while remaining pristine and soot-free. Well, it wasn't as romantic as it seemed in real life. In reality, the Black Gang worked in extremely hot, dirty, coal-fired conditions and emerged heavily soot-covered. Also, the use of flashlights in lifeboat rescue scenes couldn't have even happened. In fact, flashlights didn't exist until later. The portable electric torches that we call flashlights were only available by 1911, so the movie was wrong in that aspect. Later, the representation of access routes and doors in the ship is misleading. The film shows the boiler rooms flooding while crew members sprint horizontally across compartments, which gives the impression of fewer escape routes. In real life, the escape ladders and vertical paths were provided as part of the design for boiler and engine spaces. But let's go to one of the craziest and most romantic scenes in the Titanic, which probably didn't happen in real life and isn't even accurate. Time and water. The depiction of the ship sinking, especially the time spent in the water and the angle of breakup, takes dramatic license in several important respects. Director James Cameron himself later admitted the film got things half right. First, the film shows the ship's stern rising to about a 40 to 45 degree angle before the hull breaks apart and plunges. But according to the recent hydrodynamic and structural modeling, the actual angle at which the hull failed was far less, on the order of 23 to 30 degrees, or maybe even shallower. Furthermore, Cameron's teams found that the image of the stern both falling back in a large splash and then going fully vertical couldn't have both happened. Only one or the other could apply. But the movie wanted to be dramatic, so they didn't focus on consistency. Second, they portrayed survival in the icy North Atlantic water in a completely different way. It showed characters lingering near the surface for a substantial time with minimal physical degradation. In reality, the water at the time of the sinking was about 28 degrees Fahrenheit, or minus 2 degrees Celsius. In such extreme cold immersion conditions, victims would very rapidly suffer cold shock, loss of muscle control, unconsciousness, and possibly cardiac arrest, well before the time the film allows its characters to survive. Estimates suggest that no one could survive in these temperatures without protective gear, and they would have only lasted for a few tens of minutes, instead of the historic delay that was shown in the movie. But that wasn't the only unrealistic romantic scene in the Titanic, as there's no way anyone could have had a romantic kiss in the boiler room of a massive ship. Well, except Jack and Rose. Boiler kiss. In the movie, there's a dramatic sequence where the protagonists, Jack and Rose, share a romantic kiss in the ship's boiler room area. This was a scene that, while visually striking, was something that wouldn't have happened. In the movie, Jack led Rose through the fiercely hot alley between two boilers. The furnaces roar, silhouetting the glistening stokers.
I watched some more of that. I don't know what I want to do. You're killing time, guys. Like I said, I got nothing to do all day, so one thing. I'll do it for a little bit, so it doesn't really matter. I have to make a phone call to someone at 9 o'clock, and that's about it. So right now, I'm just killing time. There's something I really want to do, but I'm not doing it. I never will do it on camera. Someone told her you should do. You should work in. Tell you should do it. You should go. Someone did ask me a question. Tyler, hey, you thought about doing something on a different platform? Yes and no, but I'm not going to.
Soviet Union. It's 1978 and things are going great. We were the first
So yeah,
to suffocate a dog in
just killing time, having fun today.
and we also set off the world's largest nuclear weapon. But those glory days
Oh
are
yeah,
somewhat behind
it's
us.
killing. Okay, I knew Lyric was on here earlier, but I wish I could meet you, Lyric, personally, face to face. But who knows? That may happen in a future date.
But hey, what
We're getting closer and closer to our goal of 5,000 subscribers. So that's good.
fully automated luxury communism. I hope nothing ever changes. I have a reliable job.
Actually, I have a rule, and technically, I have this rule, and technically, only a couple ways to break that rule.
Through a magnifying glass, I can now clearly see what's happening across
I mean,
our empire.
I kind of have a rule I go by about doing certain things, and technically, my rule is kind of weird, but only a handful of people would understand this rule.
Nearly every advert is just letting me know about the local availability of certain products. Like this funky stinky.
But there's something I really would like to do, but I don't have no one to do this thing I want to try doing with anyone because it's a two-part job.
I may never have seen a washing machine before.
But it doesn't really matter.
Thanks to my trusty F-Brand television set. And because of our dearly
There's a couple things that I would like to do, but I would need something to do with do this thing with. But it's a two-part job.
But I'm sure he's just busy.
But that's all I'm gonna say.
Soviet troops are currently fighting extremists in Afghanistan, who you might know as the good guys from Rambo 3 or the bad guys from 9/11.
It doesn't really matter, though.
There'll be no match for our mighty Red Army. I mean, they haven't been
But it doesn't really matter.
nuclear weapons and guarding German concrete for nothing.
Someone came back on, so it's good.
In our barely functional factories, we don't have quite as many consumer products as people in the West, and the ones that are produced are usually
So yeah, I'm pretty fun now.
corrupt officials before they even reach the shelves. So the only place that I see many of these
Yeah, I would like to do that
products
too.
are on TV. Like this bizarrely erotic carpet advert that looks like it was filmed next to a load of sewage runoff. In 1982,
Yeah, I wish I had those too.
He's alive
But
and
yep,
raring to
it's
go
relaxing.
on our annual October Revolution March, which is confusingly held in November. And then we see Brezhnev again just 3 weeks later at his own funeral. But before his death was announced, the only thing that was on Soviet television was this: a 4-hour loop of Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake.
A 4-hour loop of Swan, a 4-hour loop of a ballet. Wow.
That way, our brave and intelligent leaders make sure that we get the correct information that they want us to hear. After Brezhnev went up to the great gulag in the sky, we were left with a bunch of leaders that looked about as fresh as the ones that we'd embalmed and put on public display in the
When?
1920s. First comes Yuri Andropov, a familiar face, and plus his hairline was comforting, as it was proof that something was recessing worse than our economy. He dies 15 months into his leadership.
That
and was
sucks.
replaced by the even older Konstantin Chernenko, seen here adopting the T-pose to assert dominance. But then he keels over just 13 months later. By 1985, we needed someone with some fresh blood. We were introduced to the new General Secretary of the Communist Party, the Gremlin in the Kremlin, Mikhail Gorbachev. At a sprightly 56, Gorby is young and his head is covered in ideas. Maybe this guy...
Yep, and he lived for a long time.
He can get his plans approved by the country's real leaders, the KGB. KGB stands for Komitet Gosterovanoi Bezopastoyi. They are a highly sophisticated secret police and surveillance network, employing over 500,000 people, including this handsome KGB agent who's currently stationed in East Germany. As well as spying on...
I would love to go to East Germany and take care of the problem.
...department that's job is to ban Western media and foreign influence. But culture has a way of getting in through the cracks. Much of the Soviet Union's video work and commercials come from the same place,
the satellite state of Estonia. And most of the ads that I'm showing you come from the mind of one crazed Estonian ad director, Harry Egypt. But the thing about Estonia is it's the one place in the Soviet Union where your television can pick up illegal frequencies from Finnish television stations, meaning that television-owning Estonians were some of the few who were able to actually access Western media with any kind of ease. And Harry Egypt was clearly one of these people.
Well, he deserved. I think Harry got permission to do that because of one thing. What Harry is doing, I think he would actually. I think he would actually have personal permission to do that.
But when Harry wasn't committing blatant plagiarism, he was at the local beach picking up models for his increasingly experimental commercials, like this one, which is inexplicably trying to sell you shoe polish.
Shoe polish.
I call your name.
But he's probably best known in the West for this outrageous ear rape sequence, which is all about advertising the delicious taste of minced chicken carcass. Wasn't that great? And perhaps our young leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, was watching these commercials when he decided to bring widespread reform to our nation. It was already perfect, and he was about to improve it. The whole of the USSR got a light dusting of democracy, as a few party officials were directly elected for the first time. They don't have much responsibility, but they exist. And this empowers ordinary people to feel like that they can actually criticize the current system. Not me, of course. I love it. Gorbachev also allows a few foreign firms to set up business in the Soviet Union. And by 1986, I can even see adverts for that dirty capitalist swill water known as Pepsi. But I wouldn't buy it, even if I could afford it. I'd rather just sit back, relax, and watch Russia's longest-running animated show, Well, Just You Wait.
That show's not that bad. I see that show.
And fails to devour the same big-eyed bunny. But he's usually outwitted by our nation's superior manufacturing prowess or our honorable secret police. Hey, what's going on?
An official announcement from the Council of Ministers. There has been an accident at the Chernobyl atomic power station. One of the atomic reactors was damaged. The consequences of the accident are being taken care of.
Huh. Well, that was short. I'm sure they've got everything under control.
Like I said, guys, just doing a nice long stream. That's all I'm doing.
What flowers say my dad could not overlook?
Try adding white tulips. They symbolize forgiveness.
Tulips. There's some more tulips.
Hello, Moto. Create your own sunshine with Jergens natural.
I would love to do that.
Moisturizer.
But I know it won't happen. Oh, you could do that. You wouldn't get trouble for trying doing it.
That's the feel good.
Yeah, but I'm not going to do what DC did. DC Clinton did.
My son's assistant here. Will you be sitting beside me at the funeral? This is Jamie. A gift from my
Denise Clinton was nuts. I think it would hurt trying to do that. But it doesn't really matter. Like I'm saying, I never thought about it. Yeah, like I said, I'm just trying to kill time, have fun.
Back to the ads. Oh, come on, that one was good. 3 days later, we're told that everything's under control and that foreign reports of the death count have been greatly exaggerated. See, nothing to worry about. The lesson here is that you can solve any problem if you throw enough helicopters and human suffering at it.
The level of the radiation in the area of the power station and the immediately adjacent area still remains dangerous to the health of people. The highest priority task right now is to eliminate the consequences of the accident.
You know, I'm starting to think these fuckers are lying to me. The Chernobyl disaster really undermined confidence in the Soviet Union, both internally and externally. On top of that, we're still fighting in Afghanistan. Apparently, someone armed those extremists with a bargain bucket of anti-aircraft missiles. And now we think about it generally, this whole communism thing is starting to look a little creaky. I watch commercials for cars and speedboats that I'll never be able to afford. I don't really feel like going to work, and a lot of people agree with me. I'd rather just sit back and watch TV. And there I can see that some of my countrymen are being a bit more proactive. Because, I mean, if you're not working, I guess you might as well be protesting. There are strikes and demonstrations across the Soviet Union, especially in the Baltic states like Estonia. But unlike our previous leaders, Gorby isn't as enthusiastic about transforming protesters into a cloud of pink mist. With uprisings going conspicuously uncrushed, people are emboldened. On TV, I even get to see someone directly heckle Gorbachev.
Yo, fuck 12, fuck the KGB.
And I'm also seeing a lot more of this guy, a barely functional alcoholic known as Boris Yeltsin, who now holds public office in Moscow. He doesn't have much real power, but that's probably a good thing because he's always about 2 bottles deep. But I like what this Boris has to say, and so do a lot of people, including these guys. In the same year that the USSR triumphantly retreated from Afghanistan, it also shrewdly decided to let protesters tear down the Berlin Wall. And we're all pretty much glad to see it go. That thing was an eyesore. It was also really expensive to run. And, you know, freedom, openness, blah, 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 whatever. After being drip-fed capitalism for the better part of a decade, we were ready for the all-you-can-eat buffet. Moscow got its first McDonald's in 1990.
I'm just on here just to kill time. I'm just doing a long. Since school ended Friday, since the school year is done right now in my area until Friday. Since school ended Friday, I thought just do a long live stream for fun. That's what we're doing. I usually try to do it. I tried to do it at nighter, but I thought, I'll do a day version. It's easier on me. I'm just gonna really live stream because it's easier on me.
Maybe what we all needed was another continuous loop of Swan Lake. This is what is playing on every television in the
I'm just relaxing. I got a phone call at 9 and I don't sleep, stay up. I don't care. It's Monday. I have nothing to do Monday.
Glory days of gulags and gout. When the news returns, Gorbachev is nowhere to be seen. And it's pretty difficult for newsreaders to pretend everything is normal when there are hundreds of tanks rolling on Red Square. When our new leaders show themselves, they look like a bunch of grey-suited clones. They tell us that Gorby has come down with a nasty case of flu. No one takes these people seriously. They're anonymous. They're nobodies. I haven't seen them on my TV before, but I have seen this guy. On the day of the coup, Boris Yeltsin sobered up for long enough to jump on a tank in Red Square and give a rousing speech. He calls for an open-ended general strike to protest the coup, which suited me because I stopped going to work years ago. Just 3 days later, the coup fails. Gorbachev is back and he's appearing alongside Yeltsin, but everything is different now. The center cannot hold. On Christmas Day 1991, it's over. Despite all his reforms, Mikhail Gorbachev resigns from office in disgrace. But he does get to live every underappreciated worker's dream and set fire to the whole place on his way out. He announces the dissolution of the Soviet Union and the rise of the Russian Federation. The Soviet flag is lowered from the Kremlin for the last time. I watched this ritual on TV and it's strange to outlive the country you were born into, like watching the walls of your childhood bedroom dissolve into air. Surely, after this, nothing can be the same. Greetings, fellow capitalist pigs. Welcome to the Russian Federation. It's 1998 and things are going great. Our currency might be worthless, but we're propping up our economy by pumping dinosaur sauce out of Siberia and dumping guns off the coast of Liberia. I haven't been seeing much of our brave President Boris Yeltsin on TV recently. There's rumours that he's sick, but I'm sure he's just busy. The last time I saw him, he was getting loaded with some American pervert.
Clinton.
He got into the capitalist swing of things. Doing a successful rebrand in the mid-90s, they're now known as the FSB and are led by this guy. What's his name? Wait, actually, he's Prime Minister now. But life moves pretty fast in capitalist Russia. We've now got more luxury brands than you can shake a stick at. Only the oligarchs can afford them, but at least I can see them on my new Japanese TV. And I can see commercials for American businesses like Pizza Hut. And I'll admit, I do have some nostalgia for the old days, but wait a minute, is that Gorby? It's you! Wow, life is good. What more can I possibly want? I hope nothing ever changes. Thanks for watching.
I gotta call the VET in a minute.
Hat uns zu einer schweren und entscheidenden Situation gestellt. Ich bin der Auftrag, den österreichischen Volksrecht für die Ereignisse des Tages zu berichten. Die deutsche Reichsregierung hat den Herrn Bundespräsidenten ein befristetes Ultimatum gestellt, nach welchem der Herr Bundespräsident einen ihm vorgeschlagenen Kandidaten zum Bundeskanzler zu ernennen und die Regierung nach den Vorschlägen der deutschen Reichsregierung zu bestimmen hätte, widrigenfalls der Einmarschzeit der Truppen in Österreich für diese Stunde in Aufsicht genommen wurde. Ich stelle fest, vor der Welt, dass Nachrichten, die in Österreich verbreitet wurden, dass Arbeiterunruhen gewesen seien, dass Träne vom Blut geflossen seien, dass die Regierung nicht mehr in der Lage wäre, das eigene nicht hätte Ordnung machen können, von A bis Z verboten sind. Der Bundespräsident beauftragt mich, den Österreich heute mitzuteilen, was für eine Gewalt reichen. Ja, seit wir uns keinen Preis auch in dieser ernsten Stunde nicht, seit das Blut über dich gekommen sind, unsere Wehrmacht der Auftrag gegeben, für den Fall, dass der Einmarsch durchgeführt wird, ohne wesentlichen Widerstand, ohne Widerstand zurückzuziehen, die Entscheidungen der nächsten Kopf abzuwarten. Der Herr Bundespräsident hat den Herrn General der Infanterie Suhatski, Generalgruppeninspektor und der Führung der Wehrmacht gebraucht. Für sie werden die weiteren Weisungen der Wehrmacht ergehen. Wir verabschieden sich in dieser Stunde von der österreichischen Volke.
That seems a little low.
Proglásiti, že odevzdávám osud České
Krzycie to nasz ostatni komunikat. Dziś oddziały niemieckie wkroczyły do Warszawy. Braterskie pozdrowienie przesyłamy żołnierzom polskim walczącym na Helu i wszystkim walczącym, gdziekolwiek się jeszcze znajdują. Jeszcze Polska nie zginęła. Niech żyje Polska!
This is pretty neat. Greece, 1941.
Έλληνες, οι Γερμανοί εισβολείς ευρίσκονται εις τα πρόθυρα των Αθηνών. Αδέλφια, κρατήστε καλά στην ψυχή σας το πνεύμα του μετώπου. Ο εισβολεύς εισέρχεται με όλας τας προφυλάξεις εις την έρημον πόλην με τα κατάκλειστα σπίτια. Έλληνες, ψηλά τις καρδιές. Προσοχή! Ο ραδιοφωνικός σταθμός Αθηνών ύστερα από λίγο δεν θα είναι ελληνικός. Θα είναι γερμανικός και θα μεταδίδει ψέματα. Έλληνες, μην τον ακούτε. Ο πόλεμος μας συνεχίζεται και θα συνεχιστεί μέχρι της τελικής νίκης. Zito το έθνος των Ελλήνων.
Kita mengikuti siaran ini. Angkatan Udara Jepun telah mengebom Pearl Harbor, kubu Amerika Syarikat di Lautan Selatan. Banyak kerusakan telah berlaku. Bukan dan inilah berita yang terakhir. Angkatan Jepun telah mendarat di Kota Baru.
De Nierom te Bandung. Wij gaan nu sluiten luisteren. Vaarwel tot deze de tijd. Tegen het vaderland, tegen de koningin.
This is Lieutenant General Highlight. Subject, surrender. With the king of Paris. That the garrison of that forces
Philippines, United States.
destroyed by aerial and artillery bombardment and by infantry supported by tanks which have overwhelmed Corregidor. After leaving General Rommel with no agreement between us, I decided to accept, in the name of humanity, his proposal. You will therefore be guided accordingly. And will, I think will, surrender all troops under your command to the proper Japanese officer. This decision on my part, and I realize will force upon me are now entirely beyond our control.
Und 3 Minuten. Reicht von der Grenzpost und die angesprochenen Länder. Wir bringen heute den letzten Wehrmachtsbericht dieses Krieges. Aus dem Hauptquartier des Großadmirals.
I was just a YouTuber full time, but
Das Oberkommando der Wehrmacht ist bekannt.
and this.
In Soviet Union, there were only 2 TV channels. First channel was more popular than second. On first channel, you see news, weather, annual production records, and documentaries about how life is bad in NATO countries. On second channel, there was a KGB agent looking at camera and saying angrily, "Turn TV to first channel." In Soviet Union, there were only 2 TV channels. First channel was more popular than second. On first channel, you see news, weather, annual production records, and documentaries about how life is bad in NATO countries. On second channel, there was a KGB agent looking at camera and saying angrily, "Turn TV to first channel." In Soviet Union,
Repeating once again our top story, Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev has been removed from power, and there are tanks now in the streets of Moscow. Vice President Gennady Yanayev says he has taken over as acting president as the head of state of a special state committee. You're watching live pictures from Moscow this morning. He has declared a state of emergency in individual localities. It is not clear what that means. Russian President Boris Yeltsin. Repeating once again our top story, Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev has been removed from power, and there are tanks.
Okay, I gotta call the vet before I forget, so I gotta meet you guys because of personal. Okay, guys, I'm back. I had to take care of a medical thing for one of my pets, and it worked out pretty good. So we're gonna watch some random stuff for a little longer, and by around 3 o'clock, we'll get off. Right now it's 9. I have to use the restroom real quick. I'll be back in a hot second. Tyler, you look like an idiot. I know, but I don't give a care about this channel. I need to pee. That's it. I gotta pee real quick. That's it. Then I don't know. Okay, babies, you're not going outside today. Okay, so at 2 o'clock, I'll get off at. I was gonna stay until 3, but today I have to do something, so I'm gonna get off at 2. But I could take a nap. I mean, I did my deed for the day.
Repeating once again our top story, Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev has been removed from power, and there are tanks now in the streets of Moscow. The Vice President Gennady Yanayev says he has taken over as acting president.
I was killing time, guys.
Special state committee. You're watching live pictures from Moscow this morning. He has declared a state of emergency in individual localities. It is not clear what that means. Russian President Boris Yeltsin says the action is illegal, and he's called for a general strike to return Mr. Gorbachev to office. A spokesman for Boris Yeltsin says Mr. Gorbachev.
Secret places and love 24-hour shopping will begin to prove to be its undoing.
What happens when you take a whole chicken, pack it full of mashed potatoes, top it full of gravy, insert some corn, then deep fry it? You've got yourself a meal. The all-new stuffed Pollo Total Freedom, now at Cluck and Bell. The meal in one just got massive. Cluck and Bell.
18,000 calories.
You don't need money to drive away at Sully's. How about the Farachi? Here's a fine rate. Just got massive. Cluck and Bell.
Okay. Something that I definitely would like to get on the channel real quick so I don't forget. Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow I go to the zoo. Actually, tomorrow I'll leave the house tomorrow. Go to the barber. Go to the bank, the barber, then the zoo. Okay.
Liberty City. You don't need money to drive away at Sully's. How about the Farachi? Here's a fine racing machine for you. There's been a lot of special moments in this beauty. So special, there was an Amber Alert issue. They never found her, but it's yours for $7,999. Enjoy the power of the open road today. Oh boy, Sully's got a nice one for you here. The Emperor, fast as hell, and the
the airbags have been successfully tested by the previous 3 owners. None of them are in the state to drive anymore, so the car is yours now for the low price of $12,999. Sully's has trucks too. The EXT. Nothing makes you feel manly like driving a truck covered in another man's blood. It's got dark upholstery that doesn't show stains. It's a forensics dream. We call it the Science of Crime Special. Only $10,499. Head down to Sully's Auto Mart right now. These and other bargains are going fast. Remember, Sully said it's pre-owned. It's not you.
Liberty City, a town on the edge, a town at the daybreak of dawn, a city at the gate of the universe, a city at the limit of literature, deep into the point where hyperbole becomes change. The gateway to the new world was also a terrifying den of iniquity, and the campaign to clean up Liberty City and shut down the comatoriums began almost as soon as the city was founded. What most people don't know, but what I discovered through extensive reenactments, purely for research of course, was that in the comatoriums they used pig fat as lubrication, which in many ways is far superior to modern-day petroleum jelly. Another thing worth bearing in mind is that in the spring of 1647, the East India Trading Company hired a cross-dressing director general for New Rotterdam named Gloria Hole. He had lost his right.
Alienation, shitty radio morning shows, and car key parties. And they were allowed to live amongst their own kind in the suburbs and feel safe. Even then, bridge and tunnel was a dirty word, just like flange. Ooh. I have a heart attack any second.
Ice scrapers and looked down on the other barns, of course.
Is there a...
Four massive breasts, 2 tiny brains, conjoined twins, season 2. What happens when one finds religion and the other finds work as an exotic dancer? Find out only on CNT.
Princess have a bubblegum!
It's okay. It happens to a lot of guys. You never know what radiation exposure can do to your semen.
Oh, this is so embarrassing. Look, please don't blog about this, lady, because I've never had this happen before.
Oh no! Yes.
Okay, that was crazy.
경의하는 김정은 동지의 불후의 보전점.
I knew that I was in
твое, братишка.
Warning. Warning.
Внимание, дорогие товарищи. ФСК сообщает, что этот район подвергся атаке с воздуха. Чтобы обеспечить безопасность населения, особенно детей, все должны спокойно и организованно пройти к ближайшему противорадиационному убежищу. Закройте окна, отключите электрические и газовые приборы, перекройте краны. Возьмите с собой важные документы и противогаз, а также стойки еды.
I need to ask her something later.
Предприятия и учреждения осуществляют деятельность, предусмотренную специальными инструкциями. Товарищи, помните, нет необходимости в панике или тревоге. Партийное и военное руководство разработали...
Well. It has been a long time.
Okay, you know what, guys?
Before we get
I'm gonna cut this stream off. I'm gonna change stuff off.
the program you're about to see is not for the faint of heart. There will be horrors and terrors beyond your imagination. And if you get scared easily, then this may not be the program for you. But for those of you who wish to proceed, I have one thing to say.
Guys, I was gonna do all day thing, but I'm gonna go to bed. I'm tired, so good night.